Welcome to This Ability Podcast for our second episode this season. I'm Mary Baudouin, your host and podcast producer. Before we dive into this very special episode featuring the incredible autistic teens from the Red Oaks Coping School in Lafayette, I would like to take just a few minutes to give you a little backstory, especially for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time or who may not have heard our interview with Stephanie Crelo back in Season 1. Stephanie is the school administrator and owner of Red Oaks Coping. It's a cottage school in Lafayette, and her episode was one of the most eye-opening conversations that we had in Season 1. She introduced us to a radically compassionate, out-of-the-box approach to education, one that meets neurodivergent children exactly where they are, instead of trying to squeeze them into a mold that was never made for them in the first place. Red Oaks Coping does not operate like your typical school. At the cottage school, sitting in a desk all day is not a requirement. Standing, pacing, stepping out for a sensory break, it's all part of the flow. There's no punishment for not doing worksheets and no panic-inducing pressure to perform. Instead, the focus is on relationship, regulation, and respect. Children are given the space to trust their teachers, to trust their own bodies, and to learn at their own pace. That's the spirit behind Red Oaks Coping. It's not just about academics. It's about helping children to learn to recognize what their bodies need in moments of stress so that they can regulate, cope, and thrive in school and in the real world. Which brings us to today's episode. Now, this was not your typical quiet, polished podcast recording. Imagine cramming about 7 very enthusiastic teenagers, plus myself and Stephanie, into one small studio with only 4 microphones to share. There was some audio gymnastics involved, a lot of joyful interruptions, and more than a few moments where it felt like controlled chaos, but the kind of chaos that's full of heart, laughter, and honesty. These teenagers came ready to talk, and talk they did. You'll hear about what they love most about being at Red Oaks, the difference it made in their lives by attending, and what it feels like to finally be in a school where they don't have to mask who they are. They open up about fitting in or not, what it's like to navigate the world as autistic individuals, and, of course, their favorite video games. Because if you're going to have a bunch of teens in a room, you better believe gaming is going to come up. These young people are insightful, hilarious, and braver than they probably realize. So sit back, relax, and get ready to hear from the teens themselves. And now let's begin today's video podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode of This Ability Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Baudouin, and joining us today are several teens from the Red Oaks Coping Program. Let's go one by one and introduce yourselves, okay?
I'm Landon Hakes.
Hi, I am Lucius Worthy.
Hi, Lucius.
I'm Seth Wolf.
Hi, Seth.
I'm Daniel Chrisman.
I'm Ava Barra.
Thank y'all so much for being here. And also Stephanie is here. I want to get to know you guys a little bit more. Where are you from?
I'm born and raised down here in South Louisiana.
I am from Karen Crow.
Lafayette, Louisiana.
I'm from Lake Charles. I moved down to Lafayette because of Hurricane Laura.
I was born in Houston, but I live in Maurice now.
Okay, very good. So I'd like to ask each of you, what is the thing that you like the most about Red Oaks?
I like the many different people that I can meet there.
I like the easy workload and that everybody is super chill and non-judgmental.
I will add on to what Lucius, my friend here, said about non-judgmental. And at Red Oaks, I'm sure many people in the disability community can agree with me that we are different. The world's not so, I guess you say, friendly with disability, so to speak. And Red Oaks is one of those places that is a place for disability people, just because we are different. Being autistic, for knowing it, I was in 8th grade. I'm currently in a senior, so I've been knowing it for 4 years, since I was 13 years of age. And and I've been with it all my life, but having known and how much it affects me now, looking back at it, it's just like, wow. Obviously, this is a big thing. I mean, most kids in the autistic world who are in public school have troubles, not just with the school in general, just life as a whole. I mean, Red Oaks, like as he said, is non-judgmental. You could find, as I like to say, your tribe, simply due to the fact that, as in the world, some people just don't get along because you could be different. I'm different, obviously. On the surface, you wouldn't see such difference. There are differentials that people have, I guess you say, on the inside, get on the outside, but you have it on the inside, so to
Well,
speak.
let's get some feedback from the other guys. Do you guys agree with what he just said?
Overall, yes.
Okay.
You see, being different for me, well, you see, I'm not too different from other people, but I still am. And I guess some people just sort of don't like that. And so to those people, I say that that's fine. I don't need your approval, okay? The only approval I need is my own.
Seth?
I love all the people like over there. They're all so kind, so sweet, and I think she's running a really good business. And I just love it over there. It's really fun to go over there, and it's like a little family community.
So you feel like you fit in?
Fit right in.
I feel like I haven't met anyone that I didn't like Red Oaks. I had trouble getting close to people my entire life. I feel like I've had less trouble at Red Oaks.
All right, let's move on to the next question. What do you like to do in your space time, or what is your favorite animal or video game?
My favorite video game right now, it's got to be Arsenal.
Well, one thing I am very much a sports fan. I've taken interest in sports, so I've done many officiating or umpiring from sports, from football. I've done a couple leagues here, one being the most transparent in Youngsville for the sports complex. I've also umpired Little League and Broadmoor, both very welcoming communities, and that's one thing I like about it, because granted, I am different, like I mentioned earlier, may not see on the outside, but everyone in the thing, in the communities of that, I like it because everybody, granted, sports is all fun and people want to win some and lose some. The community still as itself is not, I guess you could say cruel would be the best word for putting aside people doing, because people are human. I do like drumming because I feel like music is one of the things that I guess say do that can kind of help me cope with said things, because obviously some people may not have the best coping mechanisms, or some of them don't even have the right tools in the toolbox to use, because I mean, some people are just not fortunate to have a place like Red Oaks that helps you gain opportunities. Granted, some of them say they don't, but some of them don't have, some of them don't understand things on a level that Steph as a whole is able to understand. I mean, with her starting of the business, her motivation, how she treats her business is something that some people of the government think will never be able to understand, because she takes time and understands. She doesn't think autism as how it's a disability. She understands how autism is not just a disability as it classifies it. She thinks it as just a difference, which in reality it is just a difference. It's not really a disability as they say. That's how it's classified in the dictionary. If you look it up, I mean, obviously that's how it's going to classify it is, but I really think it's a difference, which I'm sure everybody can agree with me with. Yes, it can be a disability in some places with two or when you get to the lower spectrum. I still don't think it's a disability. It's differentials in all spaces, all levels, but still, the part of it is you're just different from other people, and just because you are different does not mean you can't do anything else people want you to do. One thing that I'm going to put to all is that once you put your mind on something, by golly, you can do it.
My favorite animal is a cat. I think it feels really rewarding for them to get closer to you, and once they do get close to you, they're very cuddly and sweet, and I like the little noises that they make. I think they're very cute. I do a lot. I like art. I do karate lessons.
Red Oaks includes everything of what you are. If you're funny, different, if you laugh weird, if you're short, whatever you want to put it at, put in the blank.
What's it like to be a little different? And I would like to start on this end of the table.
Well, sometimes it's not all that, strange, but you notice the little things, like how people look at you differently, or how sometimes you don't understand stuff that other people do. And most of the time you can live your life normally, but there's some certain times where things get overwhelming, or you feel that people are being judgy. I was diagnosed at a pretty early age, so I kind of knew what was going on with me for a long time.
And the question is, what's it like to be a little different, if you feel different?
I haven't really been judged or bullied, really. I was diagnosed in school because for various reasons, but I never really had that much trouble, anything.
Just like, don't be ashamed of who you are.
What is it like to be different? Just know that if you're around judgmental people and they have that knowledge, that you are going to be bursting a couple of blood vessels.
Are you saying that gives you the right to be upset?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody bullies you and it's literally just for being different, then I should be able to do that too. And then if you try to complain, you look like a hypocrite.
I think it's justified to be upset, but the things you do in response may not be as justified, I guess.
One thing I do want to mention about that, it's sometimes kind of hard. People can hurt you. I've known it because even I'm hurt about being different. Sometimes I think I'm just I don't understand what I was made for or why I'm even in the world to begin with. Because, I mean, just because I'm different, I feel like I should not be part of the society. And that's just hard because, as the old saying goes, life's not going to be a straight line, so to speak.
You don't need a purpose to be allowed to live.
Well, let me rephrase it. As to that point, I feel like, why me? There's also another question going to be, why not me? Because I feel like with me being an advocate here within the disability community means that I can help other people who have felt my, I guess you say, pain, so to speak.
I have something to add about you specifically, Landon, because you sat there and you said that you don't feel like you have a purpose, and sometimes you wonder why you're here. And I have been working with you for what?
Like 4 years, something like that.
Something like that, okay? There are plenty of purposes for you in this world. I can talk about the fact that we did food drive with Catholic Charities, and Landon took it upon himself to start his own, and he brought in more than 30% of the amount of food we had. Landon is the first one to take up for friends, first one to help a friend that's having a hard time and encourage a friend. You have a purpose.
See, I love that. I love a friend that's encouraging too, because we all have bad days, right? Sometimes we just need some words from an encouraging friend. Seth, you had something you'd like to add?
I'd like to add on to Miss Stephanie. I truly believe that, like Miss Stephanie said, everybody has a purpose. And God didn't just put you here for no reason. I think everybody has a purpose. You just gotta find that purpose.
I do agree with you, but I'm going to know Miss Stephanie said, I guess, if this is not proof, I don't know what is. Our group does not allow bullying in any form of it. Let me just put it to you this way. Lucius, our friend, can be a little, how should I say?
Hostile?
Point being is he had trouble controlling his emotions. That's what I'm going to leave it at.
And it looks like we have somebody that just joined us in the studio. Steph, do you want to introduce this person or have this person introduce himself?
My name's JT Hanley. I was born in Las Vegas, but I'm living in New Iberia, Louisiana.
Let's move on to our next question, which is, how do you feel about returning to school, which I'm presuming starts next week?
I don't want to go back to school.
Ava, if you don't mind me asking.
It's horrible.
What makes it so horrible? I do want to ask that because, yes, being a former person in public school and not feeling it's the right environment for me, what do you hate about it? Most teens your age do not like school because, they'd rather be at home. But why do you not?
The people! I'm going to a new school that is not at all connected to my middle school.
I'm infinitely less nervous than I was last year. I know what I'm getting into. Honestly, it's not that bad.
Not that bad. What's your favorite subject?
I'm going to have to go math because last year,
You're a math
teacher.
person, man. I am anti-math all the way.
How do you like math?
The thing is, if a bad subject can be great with a good teacher, and so last teacher was pretty terrible subject could be great with a good teacher.
I do agree with Daniel. With the right guidance, something that you struggle in could be just because you struggle with it. I'm going to use, for example, I am terrible in English, but I feel like with the right guidance and with the right tools that I have, ultimately English could not be so bad for me with the right guidance whatsoever. So I do personally agree with that.
That must have been a luxury for you guys.
I think I might be the first person to ever say this, but low-key, I am hyped to go back to school because, school is alright for me because I like Red Oak's coping because it is superior to all public schools. We only go for like 3 days a week. The workload is non-stressful.
Honestly, I don't think many people actually hate school. Like, at least at public school, from what I've seen, I don't think as many people hate school as much as they say they do because, it's more for the friends, really. Honestly, at this point, for a lot of people, school is mainly just a way to meet people.
At the moment, school really isn't on my mind because I have recently had some stuff go on and my anxiety's been getting worse. So my normal everyday things I do, so just since I have a hard time always not being able to stop thinking, I'm also going to be having worries at school about other things.
Sure.
I like rhetoric-coping. It's really good. It helped me. I didn't do 7th or 8th grade. I went right to high school.
Okay.
And I was able to complete with straight A's, but I still had a lot of worries about I was doing stuff good, and then also something happened with my mom recently, so just worrying about a lot of medical problems, and it is okay if I list them out. I wouldn't say struggle, but I have depression, anxiety. I really would say I struggle with anxiety right now. I also have ADHD and autism, and I also have chronic back pain, so sitting in seats and like that or doing stuff can hurt. So the reason I say I've been struggling with anxiety is just mostly because I've been overthinking multiple times.
And sometimes I could think with that type of diagnosis, you have to just take it one day at a time and not, like they say, take one step at a time. Don't look at the whole staircase, just one step at a time. That the whole big picture doesn't overwhelm you. Before we continue with our interview with the teenagers from Red Oaks, I think this is a good time to take a break and share a few excerpts from our Season 1 conversation with Stephanie Creelo, the school administrator and owner of Red Oaks Coping, because she explains the concept of the cottage school and why it's so different from a traditional classroom setting. She also talks about her advocacy and legislation to ensure that every special education classroom in Louisiana has funding for cameras. And lastly, the importance of group conversations with the students who may be internalizing a range of emotions. Tell us more about the cottage school.
The cottage school is a very out-the-box idea. I remember in college learning about child-led education, and I just could not wrap my brain around what would that look like? How could the children lead the classroom? Of course, the first several years of teaching, I ran my classroom in a compulsive way. Your traditional schooling, everyone must sit down, the teacher's in the front of the room, and it went well for typical children. However, with children that have differences, neurological differences, sitting down in a desk all day can be very, very difficult. So the way we run the cottage school, sitting down is not a requirement. I have several kids that are kinesthetic learners. They like to stand up, move around, go in and out the room, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. We allow for that. We also do not force the kids to do any work, and we do not punish them. That's and it great. Is the most amazing thing when you take the demands off. The kids just do it. Right. The first month or two, we work on establishing rapport. So a lot of the work we give in the first few weeks is below level because we want to establish that working relationship back and forth, and the kids feel successful. And so once they trust you and once they know you're going to be there for them if they struggle, they're willing to do anything you ask.
Once you establish a rapport and a relationship with them, they probably want to exceed your expectations.
Absolutely. So every day when they come in, they have a week's worth of math sitting at their desks. And they can, some days they'll do 4 pages. Some days they'll do 2 problems. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. They're still worthy of love no matter how much work they do. And I'm happy to report more than half of my school did 2 years in math just this year.
It's incredible.
3 days a week, no homework, but just working at their own pace, teaching them what their body may need if they're having some anxiety to do math. I had one little boy, we had to say the M word. It was a trigger for him. And so what helped more than anything was teaching this child, you're dysregulated. What your body needs is bilateral stimulation. We took him out on the playground on the ladder. He would go up and down a few times and then he was ready because his body was regulated. And he couldn't believe he mastered long division. We hope to help these kids understand their bodies so that they know what their body needs when they're older, when they're in a difficult situation. Maybe they got pulled over. You know, we want to teach them when you're feeling this way, let's do some coping skills. Take some deep breaths. It's okay to have your feeling.
You said if you can identify what might be a trigger for them or what might be off kilter, then you can help them through that problem at the moment, but then also moving forward in the future. And eventually they'll learn to recognize it on their own.
Absolutely. And so what we try to tell parents is sometimes when they start at the cottage school, you'll see some behavior because it's almost like when you start seeing a counselor, you're unpacking some things. And especially our teenage clientele, when they come in, a lot of them have been holding in these emotions. We allow them to feel it. At first, it doesn't look good, but we're there for them. And we tell them we love them no matter what. Even if you have to take a break, staying in class, of course, is what we hope for. But if at any time these kids need a break, we tell them, you know, they can step out. If they need a teacher, if they need co-regulation, we pull an aid and they can step out. And because the ratio is so small and we have 2 free times a day, I can pull the child and help them whatever they missed and get it done.
So the children that attend this school, do they range in their neurological differences?
Yes, we do not accept kids according to where they are cognitively or even physically. We have kids that are nonverbal. We have kids that are on a diploma track. So it's kind of a mixed bag. We do our intakes in a clinical way. You know, before you pay anything, we're going to get a sensory profile so that we know if your child likes to scream, we cannot put your child next to a kid or in the same class with a kid who might have some sensory sensitivities. Sure. We want to set them up to succeed.
And the other students that you're taking all of that into consideration.
Before school got compulsive, that's how it was. We were all in a room with teenagers and youngsters and they naturally help one another. Now in Louisiana, every single parish has funding for cameras for special needs classrooms. The issue is parents have to request it and most parents do not know that there's already money there for cameras.
didn't mean to interrupt you. Every parish in the state?
Every parish in the state has funding for cameras in a self-contained sped class.
Okay. So if, let's say I live in Rapides Parish and my child attends a school and they are in the special education class at that school, and as of now they don't have cameras in the class, who do I contact? Do I contact the school itself?
If I was a parent, I would start at the school level.
Okay.
I would talk to administration at the school.
Okay.
If nothing gets done from there, then I would go to central office and
Okay.
see about this funding.
So there is funding set aside for every school and there's 64 parishes in Louisiana. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, some of the smaller parishes, their funding's $100,000, but Lafayette Parish is a lot of money for
Right.
cameras. And I think cameras, I have the perspective of a teacher and I also have the perspective of a special needs parent.
Yeah.
So to me, I think this is a wonderful thing, not just for protection for the children, but for protection for the teachers, training purposes.
Right.
To be able to tell a teacher coming in who's working with a child that may have difficulty to say, okay, look at this. This works. To show them a visual of what works for the child. When I speak on stuff like this, I'll always like to speak about not just our side, to think about the teacher. To me, this is a symptom of a bigger issue, and it's not that these teachers went into this profession.
Nice.
My teenagers really have a heart and passion to change the world. I mean, they are world changers. I tell them autism is a natural ability to think outside the box.
Too.
This business, I went into it thinking I'm going to help these children. Yeah, right. The first social group, I will never forget. I had a little guy that I was working one-on-one with, and when he would get upset, getting him a peppermint was like flipping the switch. And that goes against every parent and magazine. Whew, better not bring that up in ABA, okay? I mean, from every perspective, you look at that and it's like you're rewarding the kid for the behavior. However, giving this child a peppermint completely reset his brain. Mm-hmm. Why put the child through a meltdown if you can give him a peppermint and he's fine? So we're sitting around the table. It's the first social group. And this little guy says, I want to show a YouTube video. And I said, okay, as long as it's safe. If it gets unsafe, we have to shut the laptop. Of course, a few minutes in, it gets unsafe. I shut the laptop and he stood up and he pushed his chair behind him to where the chair flipped. And I got up. We had 4 kids sitting around the table. I got up and went and got peppermint, handed him a peppermint, took some deep breaths with him. While I was doing that, a little girl stood up, came around, picked up the chair and fixed it. And when we sat back down, another child reached across the table, held his hand and said, I lose control of my body too sometimes. It's okay. And it was in that moment that I was like, these kids are amazing.
Right.
They're going to teach me.
Yeah.
And they have, man.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. The love, the support. And now, if somebody does something wrong, we come together and we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're vulnerable, it gives permission for other kids to be vulnerable.
Yes.
I had a situation where they were playing hide and seek and one little boy accidentally tagged the other little boy with his phone and it hurt him. The little boy picked up and threw something at him.
Oh, wow.
Well, that little guy went crying. And so I said, okay, everybody come together. Come on, we got to talk about some stuff. And we sat down in a circle and the little boy that was crying said, I don't know why I'm crying because usually I would have just hit him back. And I said, well, you're feeling your primary emotion. They all know anger is a secondary emotion. You don't typically feel anger first. You feel sadness, embarrassment, fear, all those primary emotions. And he said, well, I don't know why I'm feeling my primary emotion. I said, well, maybe because you feel like you can. Here, nobody's going to judge you for your tears. Through talking about it, the child that threw something had to leave because I cannot say that rock is a safe place if it's not. So the boy had to leave. He was apologizing. Well, then another little guy stood up and said, when my dad died, I was angry for a while. And my counselor helped me understand that it was really sadness. But he was listening to what the other two, what we were talking about, and he felt comfortable enough. And at the time, I knew his dad had passed away, but he didn't know I knew. And nobody else in the group knew. So I'm like, this child felt vulnerable enough to stand up and share that after his dad passed, he was angry. Truthfully, it was really sadness. Sometimes it takes them to see other people. And it's not to say, oh, you were bad. It's to say, listen, we all make mistakes. Let's come together. It's unreal the way they're willing to talk. They're willing to be vulnerable about different things. We had one little guy, he lost one of his close friends to suicide. And his mom called me. He's in our social group. She said, I'd really like for y'all to talk about it. And Mary, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because I know the statistics.
Right.
The leading cause of
bad.
death in high functioning autistic young adults is suicide. And I'm working with 15 to 20 high function, not all autistic, but most. The Lord gave me the green light. So we brought it up. Some of the things these kids said, it was heartbreaking. However, I truly feel if you shine a light in the darkness must. And that's what happened. The end, a few of them were crying. I was crying.
And that's such a good feeling when you can relate to what somebody's going through too, because then you feel like I'm not alone.
It's absolutely necessary. What's the hierarchy of emotional needs? Well, it's connection. It's belonging.
For those of you who would be graduating soon, what are your plans after graduation? Who in here would be graduating?
That, unfortunately, is kind of been on my mind as of recent. As JT said, my anxiety has been about it as well because I feel like I'm worrying too much. I sometimes feel like I look at the staircase as Miss Stephanie put, or as you put it, rather, that was my fault. As you put it, sometimes I look at the whole staircase when you just need to look at one step or two steps, because I feel sometimes when I look at the whole staircase, when I try to get up the staircase, I'm gonna fall down to the beginning because of how much when you walk. I feel like if you walk up a step, you can only go down one. Try to go up the whole staircase, you go fall down two. But as to my plans with college, I'm most likely going to go to SLCC Community College. Because it's a smaller community, I'll be able to have more attention and help. As back to what I said with English not being my strong suit, I'll be able to get more guidance in that.
Pretty soon, I'm going to become a high school freshman, so it's not going to be too far off before I start college.
Good.
Before I actually answer this question, I want to say I do think it is kind of strange that we have to decide what to do for the rest of our lives when we're only 18. And they say, like, oh, if you don't like it, you can just change your job. Well, it's not that easy, especially with the hiring process. I do have, like, a semblance of a plan. I haven't decided what college I'm going to yet, but I do have some career paths laid out for me. I've been thinking about careers with animals and careers in cooking.
I really want to make all my dreams happen before I graduate. I do want to work. I would like to work at the airport because my dad's a pilot, and I would like to work maybe detail planes and stuff over there.
College is very overrated because, like, it's just half of the degrees telling you that the employer that you can a series of tasks. Like, sometimes there's some degrees that are utterly useless.
Daniel, if you don't mind, I want to comment on that. I understand. Because I was thinking about this literally a few days ago. I had a conversation with my mother about this. I understand what you're saying is overrated, but at the same point, I do understand what you mean about it, but degrees, when it comes to medical side of things, medical professionals, stuff like that, they had not agreed in their thing. Would they be able to do their job if they had not gone to college and had that degree?
There are a lot of exceptions, but for like half degrees, what I meant was half the degrees you could probably do the job you want. You don't really need a degree.
And there are some jobs that the trade is more important. From being a mechanic, a welder, there's always going to be a need for that. CNAs.
There are a bunch of jobs that are college is 100% necessary, but there are some jobs that don't require college.
I just want to say about college, like, it really depends on the job you want to do. For me, I personally don't need to go to college. What I want to do for a job is I don't need to go to college. But if you're like a doctor or something, that's definitely good to have it.
I want to be a content creator when I get older because it's been something I've dreamed about, and I'm passionate about some things, but one thing I'm definitely passionate about, and I spend all of my free time on, is games, watching YouTube, and paying people simply just because it's something that I've grown up watching, wanted to do. There is also some other things I want to do, like music, and also I've been working on ideas for a game for about a year.
I'm interested. What's the game about?
It is kind of dark.
Give us an idea of the general plot.
Think about a mountain and a person, and it's the end up for them, but it's their own doom. They kind of, stuff goes wrong, not wrong, just their anxiety kind of gets over them, and just they can't take it anymore after doing it. But it is genuinely going to be a dark game. But other than that, I want to say content creation, but that's what I was talking about earlier. My anxiety's really been mostly on that. I just have a Discord server full of just characters, weapons, the missions.
You know, JT, I too had a video game idea. I will call it a Nyctophobia FPS. So basically, the game itself would be like physically dark, minimal lighting, right? The only thing you have is the flashlight on your M4. And it's basically like a horror game, but it's like also a FPS game. The main premise is basically the living human mercenaries versus demons and ghosts and spectry ghouls.
I had a question for you, JT. Do you plan on being like a YouTuber who talks about your games that you make and stuff?
No, it's going to be mostly gaming because, like, I just want to have fun doing it. That's a lot of people who will start off having fun, but then they only do it for the fun happy, but it's then just draining. I want to do what I want to do. There will always be an audience for anything and everything.
I've thought about some ideas for a game I don't know nearly enough about coding to actually go through with it. It just stays in my head.
So when it comes to making a game, there's multiple people in the production. There's people who make the ideas. There's people who code, model, rig stuff. So, like, what I'm doing now is just thinking of ideas. If if you were to just make a really big game or even a small game on your own, it's a lot of work because you have to learn a coding engine, a game engine on how it's going to run and everything. You're going to have to learn how to draw, rig, model. You're going to need a power computer. It's just a lot of work. So it's better to start off with ideas and then in the future hire people slowly.
I just wanted to add, it's kind of like starting your own business.
Like, if you make a game that becomes very popular and a lot of people play it, you can make a big profit from it. A game on Roblox called Bloxburp, and it got big, and they sold it for like $20 million. Something insane, probably even more.
All right. So the last question is, if you could tell other people what it's like to be you sometimes, what would you say to them?
I don't think I could put it to words. I would kind of just take their soul, put it into my body, and have them live out a day as me and see what it's like. And then they'll finally understand what I go through each and every day. Entire community, so they'll still have a lot to learn. We have a lot of possessions.
In general, once you have a passion and you go at it and continue it, it's nothing's going to stop you. I can say the same thing. I also do content creator. I'm almost at 300, which is quite, I never thought I'd be that. But point being is, once you have a passion and run with it, it's going to become a pleasure.
One thing that does stop me. It is one thing I've been bringing up a lot. It is my anxiety.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Only if you convince yourself of that.
I meant for me that.
See, nothing can stop you, even something as simple as anxiety. Once you have the drive and have the power to do it, nothing's going to stop you, not even your anxiety. Granted, it may stop you for a moment, but it's not going to put a wreck in your plans. It's not going to wreck your train. It's weird. I think different than most of my kids my age. It's kind of hard to explain it how it is. It's awesome to be me. At the same time, it's not, because I feel weird and isolated, but at the same time, I know who I am and I am who I am and I like who I am. So it's essentially come down to on how I like it. But like Ava said, it's sometimes hard to put in words. You just have to, as you say, understand how it is to be in a person's point of view.
What is it like to be me? Video games and beef flavored instant ramen paired with generic brand root beer.
That proved my point specifically about you like who you are. Miss Stephanie just proved my point essentially. Lucius answers his question. Granted, like Ava said, she may not thought it was a series, but it's who Lucius is. I like who it is too because he's so funny.
It's entertaining, but he's being serious. And you know what? That's okay.
If I were to talk to someone for the first time, well, be prepared to laugh your lungs out.
This is kind of sad, but the first thought that popped into my head was disappointing.
Tell us why. Thank you for being honest.
I feel like probably the reason for that is because I had trouble in the past doing what I want to do. I don't really care too much about disappointing other people. I care more about myself.
I can understand how you feel that way, because what we know to be true about autism is that sometimes it can be a delay. I'm sure there have been times in your life where you wanted to do something that maybe you were not there yet, but I challenge you over the next few years to try to change the way you see yourself, because I have never looked at you and saw you as a disappointment, and I know that doesn't change how you feel on the inside. You are at a STEM school making straight A's and you're walking with intention.
Yes, very much.
And you have come so far.
So basically, my math teacher, I was walking around randomly during lunch. Some random teacher that I did not know came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Nothing really, just walking around." And he said, "We walk with intention here."
Wow. What does walking with intention look like? Do you just strut down the hallway?
I'm going to show you.
No,
I and
no,
Daniel have
no,
talked
no,
about this.
no.
This is what
They're not going to be able to see you.
Would just be
She's
North Korean
skipping,
soldier
people. She
marching
is skipping
down
on the
halls.
podcast.
I could only think of a couple words, but I feel I have a hard time explaining my own emotion and knowing how I feel sometimes. And then there's also just, I don't even know how to explain me or who I am sometimes. So who do I say I am? How to explain it is a hard one for me. I struggle with my mental health sometimes, so it's kind of one way I can put it.
JT brings a level of kindness to our group with JT, because you're hilarious.
This is a funny story about who you are is fun. This is when Ava had first come to
Oh
hang
my
out.
god. Are you ever going to let that go? Actually, I think it's
Anyway, I'm never gonna let that down. But anyway, she was shy at first, which is how everybody, I mean, Seth can testify to that. Probably everyone who has been to the group can testify. It's scary meeting new people. And she was so nervous and so scared. And then next thing you know, she's over here. She's come on her show. We played Cops and Robbers, and that turned into an interesting Cops and Robbers game. That's all I'm gonna say there. At the same time, Ava, I'm never going to let that down. But to the point I'm trying to make is, you came out of your shell and who you were, and it was fun who you were, and you seemed to like it, so it was fun. Don't matter what other people say, as long as your approval with your thing and how you like it is very fun.
Ava came to hang out. She was pretty shy, and we're like, let's play cops and robbers. She's like, I don't know what I want to be. Next thing you know, she has a Nerf gun towards a fake baby doll. And she said, don't get any closer, I will shoot. It made me laugh so hard.
And then we got to know who Ava was.
I want to thank all of you for being here.
I truly am proud of each and every one of y'all for coming to do something brand new. This is pretty vulnerable, okay? Talking about emotions and diagnoses and how it is to be different. And I'm just really proud of y'all for coming, taking on the challenge of something new. A few of y'all were really nervous to come, do something new, and y'all got over it. And I'm proud of y'all because y'all just are on y'all's first podcast.
Life is like a road. If you go down the wrong path, you'll lose your sense of direction, so you should always make sure you're on the right path.
This was fun. I'm gonna go now. Bye.
Want to thank you for having me here, and it's very fun.
You're welcome.
Peace out.
Very much happy that I was fortunate to podcast. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of This Ability Podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I did. I want to thank the amazing teens from Red Oaks Coping for joining us, not just for showing up physically and squeezing into our studio, but for showing up emotionally, authentically, and wholeheartedly. Their stories were powerful, their personalities were bright, and their voices, each and every one, mattered. It's not always easy to speak your truth, especially as a young person navigating a world that doesn't always understand or accommodate you. But they did it with humor, with insight, and with strength. And don't forget, this is just the beginning. Next week on This Ability Podcast, we'll be spotlighting another amazing guest, Mary Frances Avra. Mary is a proud graduate of the UL Life program. The UL Life is an acronym for Learning is for Everyone, an incredible, inclusive post-secondary program at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, designed for students with intellectual disabilities. Mary's story is one of perseverance, self-discovery, and deep personal growth. She shares what it's like to attend college, make new friends, live on campus, and gain the skills to live more independently. She also talks about her hopes for the future, the importance of acceptance, her Catholic faith, and how education gave her confidence and a voice. So make sure to tune in next week for that inspiring conversation. Until then, I'm your host and producer, Mary Baudouin, for This Ability Podcast, where our goal is to inspire and enlighten others in the special needs community. Thanks for watching. Help us grow our audience by subscribing to our podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast networks. Additionally, if you enjoy listening to our podcast, help us to be discovered by leaving a rating or review of our episodes. This will connect us with other potential listeners and help us to expand our audience. From all of us at This Ability Podcast, we thank you for your ongoing support of our mission to unveil stories that inspire and enlighten others in the special needs community.